Hello everyone, in this module we are going to learn NumPy array manipulation. Here we are going to discuss how we can manipulate the array object in NumPy. Later we will discuss several functions which are available in NumPy package for manipulation. First we will discuss how we can manipulate the array object in NumPy. So basically there are different ways to manipulate the array. The first we will discuss how we can manipulate the array by changing its shape. Next we will discuss how to transpose the array object. Next we will discuss how we can join the arrays, and in the end we will discuss how we can split the arrays. So the following given functions are used for changing the array shape. First we will discuss what is NumPy reshape function. So basically this function is available in NumPy package and it is used to get the shape of an input array without changing its data. So here is the syntax of numpy.reshape function, and within this function there are three parameters which we are going to use in an example. The first parameter is a. This parameter specifies the input arrays whose shape is to be modified. Next we will understand our next parameter, that is new shape. So basically it specifies a new shape that should be compatible with the input array, and it will check the condition. If the value of the parameter is integer, then the result will be a one-dimensional array. Next we will discuss our last parameter, that is order. So it is an optional parameter and it specifies indexes order parameter, which is CFA, and it is used to read the values of input array and place the values into the reshaped array. By default it takes C value. So this function will always returns a new array without changing the data of the input array. Now let us see an example of how to use the reshape function with an integer value as an argument. So in this example, first we have imported the NumPy library with the alias name np, and then declared an array named as random numbers by using the np.arrange function. Along with that we have mentioned the reshape function in the order of 3, 3, which means the number of rows and columns. So to display the input array we use the print statement command, and within this parenthesis we have assigned the input arrays. So in the next we have declared another variable, that is sample numbers, and assign np.arrange function, and within this function we have passed a numeric integer values, that is 36. Along with that we have mentioned the reshape function in the order of 6, 6, which means the input array has 6 rows and 6 columns. So after executing this code, the output comes the reshape array with 3 rows and 3 columns, and the second array displays 6 rows and 6 columns. So after reshaping the array, now we will discuss the numpy.flat function. So this function works like an iterator over the input array. Suppose you have a multi-dimensional array and now you want to convert the given array into a one-dimensional array, then this function will easily iterate over the array. So this is the function name, and within this function we have to set the range values for converting the arrays into a one-dimensional array. Now we will see an example of ND-array-flat function. In this example, first we have created a two-dimensional array shapes 3 by 4, which means 3 rows and 4 columns in an array, and then we have printed the whole array by using the print statement. Next we have set the range value in product id dot flat from 3 to 10. In this example the product id is the array name, and we have set the range from 3 to 10. After executing this code it will return the values from 3 to 9. Next we will understand our next function, that is NumPy ravel. So basically this function is used to modify a multi-dimensional array into a flattened array, and the output array has the same data type as we have taken in the input array. So it will check the condition. If the given array is a masked array, then the output array must be a masked array. So here is the syntax of NumPy ravel function, and within this function there are only two main parameters. The first one is a, that indicates the input array in which we want to modify in a flattened array, and the second one parameter is order. It specifies indexes order parameter, which is C, F and A, and it is used to read the values of the input array. By default, it takes a C value, which means the input array gets flattened in a row major order. Now let us discuss the NumPy Ravel function with the help of an example. So in this example, we have created an array that is employee ID by using the np.array function, and then declared the variable result, in which we have assigned the return value of NumPy Ravel function, and within this function we have assigned the array that is employee ID. Along with that, we have mentioned the order parameter and assign the value that is C. After displaying the array, the output comes from the value of the given array that are shown in a flatten array. Our next function is array.flatten. We have already used the numpy.flat function, but this is quite similar with that function. So basically this function is used to get a copy of the input array in a one-dimensional array instead of a multi-dimensional array. So again, this function takes only one parameter, which is order, that specifies the array returns flatten in row major order. So basically in this example, we have created a multi-dimensional array named as user ID by using the np.array function. So next we have declared a variable that is result and assign the return value of user ID dot flatten. So in this example, the user ID is the array object. Once you will try to print the value of result, the output comes a one-dimensional array. Now we will discuss our next operation, that is transpose operation. The following given list of tables is mostly used function for how to transpose an array in NumPy. Now let us briefly understand first function, that is numpy.transpose. Suppose you have an input array of shapes m, n, where m is the row and n is the column. Now we want to interchange the array's rows and columns. So by using the numpy.transpose, we can easily move the column data into a row data and same row data into a column data. Following is the syntax to transpose the array in NumPy. NumPy.transpose is a function name, and within this function there are two parameters. The first one is A. This parameter specifies the input array whose elements we want to transpose. The next parameter is axis. By default, it takes none value and it specifies the axis if we do not mention the axis, and by default it reverses the dimension. Now let us discuss the numpy.transpose function with the help of an example. In this example, we have created an array by using np.arrange function and mentioned the shape by using the reshape function in the order of 3, 4, where 3 is the row and 4 is the column. Next we have declared a variable that is result and assigned the output value of the numpy transpose function. So in this function we have passed the array as an argument and just print the result, and it will return the transposed array of an input array. Now we will understand our next function, that is numpy.roll axis. So this function rolls the axis backward until it sets at a given position, and this function is available in the NumPy module and it takes 3 parameters. The first one is A. This parameter specifies the input array whose elements we want to transpose. The next one is axis. It specifies the axis to roll backward. The last parameter is start. By default, it takes 0 value to complete the roll. Now let us discuss the NumPy roll axis function with the help of an example. So in this example, first we have created an array by using the np.arrange function and then use the np.roll axis function, and within this function we have passed the array as an argument along with the axis 1. So after executing this code, the output comes the rolling of an element. Next we will understand how to join input arrays by using different functions. So let us briefly understand these functions in the NumPy array. So our first function is numpy.concatenate. So this function is available in NumPy module and it is used to combine, or you can say a join, input arrays together. This function takes 2 or more input arrays that have the same shape and it will merge those arrays into a single array. This function also joins both horizontally and vertically, and it will return an empty array as an output. Here is the syntax of numpy.concatenate. So within this function, the first Two parameters are a1 and a2 that specifies the sequence of input arrays where all the input arrays must have the same shape. The next one parameter is axis. By default it takes none value and it will check the condition. If the parameter value is 0 and 1, then it will concatenate horizontally and vertically. The last parameter is out. This parameter specifies the output where the result will be stored. Now we will see an example of numpy.concatenate function. So in this example we have created two input arrays named as num1 and num2 by using np.array function. Next we use the numpy.concatenate function in which we have assigned the input array as an argument and then just print the result, so it will return the concatenation of the input array. So our next joining function is numpy.stack. So basically this function is used to combine a given input array along with an axis. So here is the syntax of numpy.stack and this is the function name numpy.stack, and within this function there are three parameters. The first parameter specifies the input array of the same shape, and next parameter is axis parameter. By default it takes 0 value, and the last parameter is out where the result will be stored. Now let us see an example of how to use the numpy.stack function with an integer value as an argument. So in this example, first we have created two input arrays named as employee ID and employee age by using np.array function, and within this function we have assigned a integer values. Next we use the np.stack function for combining two input arrays. So within this function we have assigned the input arrays along with the axis and assigned the value 0. So after executing this code it will concatenate two arrays. So our next function is numpy_h_stack. So basically this function is used to stack the given input arrays column wise, that means horizontally. For example, you have a two input array that is in the order of one dimensional arrays, and now you want to combine them together but in the way of horizontally. So this function will easily combine and get the new output array. So here is the syntax of numpy.hstack function, and within this function it takes only one parameter, that is input array, which you want to be joined together. Now let us discuss the numpy.hstack function with the help of an example. So in this example we have declared two input arrays and stored them into two variables, that is random numbers and the sample numbers. After that we have used the numpy.hstack function to combine two input arrays them together and make them into a new two-dimensional array. So this function will only return the horizontally stacked array. Now we will understand how to split the input arrays by using different functions. So now let us briefly understand about these functions in a NumPy array. The first function is numpy.split function. So basically this function is used to divide the array into sub-arrays with the given axis. So here is the syntax of numpy.split. NumPy.split is a function name, and within this function there are three parameters. The first one parameter is array. This parameter specifies the input array which we want to be split. The next one parameter is indices of or section. It specifies the equal number of sub arrays that we have created from the input array. The last parameter is axis. By default it takes a 0 value and it indicates the axis along which we want to split. Now we will see an example of numpy.split function. So in this example we have created an array by using the np.array function, and then we have split the input array into sub arrays by using the numpy.split function, and within this function we have assigned the input array named as a COVID cases. Along with that we have mentioned the indexes parameter, that is 2, that indicates how many times we have to divide the arrays into sub arrays. So after executing this code the output comes the splitting of array into two sub arrays. Now we will understand our next splitting function, that is numpy.hsplit. So basically this function is used to break an input array into sub arrays column wise. In simple word, we can say that if the axis parameter is 1, then it specifies a horizontally split. But in this function we will not use the axis parameter because this function takes two parameters, that is input array and indices or section. We will understand the example of a numpy.hSplit function. So in this example we have created an array by using the np.arrange function. Along with that we have mentioned the reshape function in the order of 3 rows 4 columns. So after printing the input array, we have declared a variable that is result and assign np.hSplit function. And within this function we have passed input array along with the indices. So basically this function will easily split the arrays into sub arrays horizontally. So once you will execute this code, the output comes from the new splitting array. So with this we have completed NumPy array manipulation.